Hello guys, and today I'm back with another tutorial of IQ option. But today I just want to give you some advice as we're entering trends in 2020. Is more special about this January, and I just want to say that probably if you're entering a trend and you find that you have a resistance, I don't know whether you have resistances in your uh, strategy, or you have any other indicator that can show some resistance in a trend, you might want to kind of hold back and wait for the resistance to go away, or for another kind of indicator that will give you a way to enter that trend. Because otherwise, if you have a planning to enter, for example, this is a downtrend and you plan to enter this downtrend, if you have a certain resistance here and probably also have another resistance here, I'm trading in 12 hours, 8 hours and 2 hours interval. You can probably change this to around 4 hours, 4 hours. So you will find that also in 4 hour interval you have the same resistance. So if you're trading, you want to enter downtrend and you have these three resistances in 12, 8 and 4 hour intervals, you might want to to hold back your trend, or trade, or even wait a little bit for these resistances to first go away, then you enter that downtrend. Otherwise, these resistances, they kind of cause a backfiring force that normally takes the trend up. So that's what I've done now. I'm opposing this downtrend, so I entered an uptrend bid, but now you can see it's actually making profits, meaning that these resistances are kind of pushing back the trend up, you see. And just because they are resisting and they are tailing the trend, you can't go below that point until they go away. That's when you can have a free way to move. So you can see that what the resistance can cause, it can even go up to 100% of a pushback up if at all you're entering a downtrend. So more of it is the moment you receive this resistance, you will also have a change or a kinking change in your arrows, showing that there is kind of a slowdown in a downtrend, or even we're going to be having an opposite force that will be pushing us back until you have these guys back up on the brim straight. We can't enter a downtrend as yet. So it will be an indicator that the resistances will be away, or if they are still there, we've gained enough force to break them by having these guys here, the arrows back on top. But if they continue to face down like this, it will mean that the resistance will, as long as resist, as long as they're still looking down. So if we have them back on their knees up here, you can see also in 12 hours they are kind of kinked down, meaning that this force is still there. Probably it's going to be happening for about 8 hours, but we just have to be patient, and that would be a moment of stagnancy. So for people who are trading in probably 2 hours, you can maybe experiencing a pushback, and probably you will be thinking that maybe you're entering an uptrend. But I would advise you that it's better if you're trading in low level intervals, like 1 hour, an interval of 2 hours, an interval of 30 minutes, an interval of 15, 10. I would advise you that before you entering any trend, you should also check on an interval of 8 what's happening in 8, what's happening in 12, in order to be sure that the trend you're entering and how deep it is it a long trend or is it a short trend. So this is how it's the only way you can determine whether it's a long trend or it's a short trend. And I'm just going to show you how we can read it from the chart. So how are we going to determine that the trend we're entering is either short or long? Probably we are in a 2-minute interval, a 2-hour interval, and it's where we're trading from. So whenever we experience a change in our indicators and they show us that probably we're entering a downtrend, like for example here our arrows, they all crossover, showing that there's a very big force coming from up there, but you never know how much is this big force. So in order to tell whether this big force is big enough to make a kind of 100%, you have, like, for example, this force was big enough to make 100%, and I'm sure for somebody who entered from this point here to this point here must have made 100% of that bid, just simply because he had probably an indication of 8 hour showing him that there was at this exact point, which is at 01, you can see the time interval here, and this exact point in 8 hour interval, we had a maximum force of around 9 coming in, and an addition force of around 8, then around 7 trickling down to around 2. They had all agreed on one thing, which is a downtrend. There was no kink in any of them, meaning that we had a perfect move for downtrend. Now, this force in 8 hour, this indication in 8 hour was big enough to cause a very deep trend in 2 hours, which could result in probably 80 to 100% of your bid. So it's better to kind of have some, though you're trading in your 2 hour, 4 hour, it's better to have an extra screen where you can monitor the changes that are happening in 8 hour and 12 hour. They could kind of give you a better picture of how deep the coming trend may be. So if you try to hover over, you can see this line here where we had our iron 9 coming in and being supported by almost every iron, trickling down to 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, and 3 and 2. So they all supported this iron, plus the market. It had also a 2 tire support of red, meaning that we had an entry for a downtrend, and this was a clear entry that probably resulted in a minimum of 80%. So it happened a couple of hours ago. I probably entered and made some profit. So if you look at the point where 9 entered, this was a point of it was actually, the time was 2022 010317. So we're going to look up for the same time in the 2 hour interval. This is an 8 hour interval where it gave us an indication of a maximum force that was coming. So it gave us the indication at 0103. You can just look it up here, down here. It was 0103 and 17, 010317. So we look it up here. Let's see where we have 010317 where. So this is the exact point where we had a maximum force in a downtrend a couple of hours ago. So the same force that is actually being experienced in 8 hour interval at 010317, it's actually the same force that people who are in the 2 hour interval are experiencing at the same time, but this time so perfect. And as you can know that if I make a 1 bar downtrend in 8 hours, if you're trading in 2 hours, probably you're going to be making around 4 bars in that same downtrend. So at exactly a coordinate of 010317, we had the same downtrend coming in, and everyone had supported him actually from Iron 2, Iron 3, Iron 4, Iron 5, and Iron 6, Iron 7, 8, 9, and 10 and 12. So you can probably stack in more irons down here if you have a bigger screen, or even display them on a separate screen such that you can have more irons that were crossing. Probably somebody else crossed down here. So they were all at their bloom at the top, and it was a clear indication of a big downtrend. So you can just see that it had made its first bar. It kind of experienced a resistance that kind of pushed it back a little bit, but you can know you don't have to leave the trend because of this resistance, because this time you have the assurance that the indication that is coming in 8 hour is actually giving you the assurance that that trend is a deep trend. So it would be digging deeper, so you don't have to leave at 1 bar. Probably, as I've told you, remember an indication of a 1 bar downtrend in 8 hours would give us the same indication. You just have to divide 8 divided by 2, those are 4 bars. So you're going to be having 4 bars of a downtrend in a 2 hour interval. So this was just the first bar. You could be very sure that more free bars are coming and probably you can just see it. This is how it transpired. It did have to break off this. It probably broke it off because this was a very big force that was coming, so it probably made another third bar, making it 4 bars, and this was the deepest. So if you had entered at a point of let me say you're a quick trader and you entered at a point of 46560, you can just see it here on my left. 465. Okay, let me take, probably you entered late, 4654, and you got out of trend as the 4572. That was probably you must have made a minimum of 50% of that bid. So I think that was enough for you. You can wait for more trends. I'm very sure it might be going back down. So anyways, so this is a clear indication. We can try to trickle down into our history and we see how good this impression or hypothesis is actually working out. So we have let us scroll back into our history and we see at this point where we had a maximum force of all arrows from Aron 2 to Aron 12 coming in an 8-hour interval. This was at a point called the coordinate is 122801. You can look it up down there 122801, 122801. So we look up the same coordinate on in a 2-hour interval and we see what happened for people who are trading in 2 hours. They must have experienced a deep downtrend that probably trickled down for a couple of hours. 122801, 122801, yeah. We are still, this is 1226, so probably it was around here, 1227. So this is it. This is our same time interval where we had 122801. So you can see it was actually doing it at the same point. So if you have a downtrend in 8-hour interval, if you're experiencing a downtrend and it has just started, be sure that every time, for every time interval below 8 hours, they must be experiencing the same downtrend. Otherwise, it would be not possible. So this is how a trend trickles down. If you're in 12 hours and you receive a downtrend, probably in 8, 4, 2, 1, and 30-minute hour intervals, those guys must be experiencing the same trend, maybe in a more vigorous manner, because you remember, if you're in 2 hours, just like I said, and somebody's in 12, if you receive the downtrend of 1 bar, you will be experiencing a downtrend of 10 bars to be an equivalent of the same trend. So if you look at this same point, 122801, exactly the same coordinate, a downtrend was starting, and just like I told you, the indication came in 2 hours, 8 hours. So if probably you're in 2 hours and you're starting at this point, you're gonna have to count probably around 4 bars of a downtrend to be an equivalent of 8 hour. So let's count our bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this guy has experienced a downtrend of 4 bars, and probably if you're a late trader and you entered at 4999, 4999, you must have gone out of the trend at that point for 8584, and I'm very sure that this difference here should have left you in around a minimum of 50. But remember, this trend was kind of continuing down, so it gave you another entry at 122909, and this was the bar that you entered, 1220 something. So probably it gave you another downtrend here and you entered. So you can just see that this was a very big deep trend that ended up giving you almost 1,000%. So maybe the other concept that I can talk about that you have to consider before entering a trend is the spread. So you have to look at the coin that you're working in. Probably working in other, have some other coins, the Binance, the Polkadot, Dogecoin, and the makers, the Dash, the ones that are times 20, the Filechain and the Bitcoin Cash, the actual times 20. So you have to kind of take caution if you're trading in these coins, because they kind of have a big spread, and when you have a spread, it gives you it doesn't give you a very good targeting time of when to enter a trend. Even sometimes when you enter at a good time, it takes a lot of takes more time to enter profits, because there's always that time lag created by the spread. So that's why most times initially I was trading in all coins, but then I realized Bitcoin times 100 would be actually very stable and no actually a very little spread. If you look at you should always check that. So you can see on the green area where it's highlighted, and the red area almost it's at the same point. So when I bid, my bid will actually be on the same line. It won't leave some space, and if it's closing, it will close at the same point, not leaving any spread. So you have to check your spread before entering any trend. Then another thing, you might want to use an auto close. I've talked about this a couple of times before in my videos. You can check them, but it's better to set an auto close for these trends. Probably around 50% we'll be getting in these trends that we're entering. You can say that a take profit that you want. Okay, then also for people whom I'm going to be giving this strategy, I want them to use this strategy, but as using the strategy, at the area of maximum force is when all the arrows strike at one time or at the same time, but that's for a long trend. So it's a combined trend, long and short. So it gives you one trend at a time. I mean one trend at one time. But if you're experiencing probably a short trend stops at around 5. So when around 5 crosses to the upper part and it finds the around 4, around 3, and around 2 supporting it, or even crossing at the same time, that will mean that that's a short trend. So most short trends can advance to long trends. You can see, like for example, this is a short trend. Probably you have to note that a short trend in 8 hours is actually a long trend in 2 hours, and I think also 4 hours, and the other hours interval trickling down. So a short trend here actually not might, but must be a long trend in the subsequent hour intervals down there. So for example, you can see here we have a 2 crossing up, a 3, a 4, then a 5 coming in to support it. So this means that this was a short trend. 5 comes in and finds all these arrows supporting it. So this made a short trend. So this was a very good short trend. You can check on it in your 2 hour. It was in 8 hour, and you can check on it at this point. It was actually 12.2601. 12.2601. You can look it up in 2 hour. 12.2601. So here we are. So you can see how big the trend is. Like I said, a short trend in 8 hour is a long trend in a 2 hour interval. So it started from here. This was the starting point. Probably started at 12.26. So if you entered at around this point, 421, and you closed at this maximum point, which is 49651, or even this, you could probably have made around 50 to 80% of that. So those are short trends. We kind of have another one here. So that's the beauty of working with an 8 hour interval. A short trend in 8 hour interval would mean a long trend in 2 hour interval. So guys, that's it for today. I will be bringing a new video, and I will start a series of explaining this strategy one indicator per indicator. So I will have to start with the zigzag. So the next coming video will be explaining more of a zigzag. But anyways, we won't talk about more of a zigzag here. We shall go straight away to the resistances. So that video will be about more of the resistances. After the resistances, how we apply them and how we trade on them, how we use them. Then the next video will be around the awesome oscillator, how we use our awesome oscillator. You see these these indicators are kind of the same in every strategy on IQ option, but the way of using them and the way you interpret them in kind of a unique way, it makes a strategy unique. So my strategy is unique just because the way I interpret these and the way I use them is unique. So awesome oscillator, if at all you have awesome oscillator and you don't know how to use it in your strategy, we shall be putting out a video about awesome oscillator and how it kind of works and how it can trade even alone. Some people use awesome oscillator alone to trade the whole day and they make a lot of profits. You can even trade on these resistances I showed you and you will make profits, like the current bid that I've just closed. I entered it on the resistance and it made profits, even more profits. So we shall go ahead to explain the most important indicator, which is the Aron. So we shall explain all these Arons and how to implement them, and most importantly how to read them. So that will be separate videos. So those will be around 3 videos, 1 or 2 and 3 videos, and the 4th video will be explaining how to set up the whole system, and the 5th video will be how to coordinate them. When this comes in, what is expected of this and what is expected of this also. So it's kind of a combination. It doesn't work alone. If this comes in, we have also to read this, we have also to read this, and we make sure that they tally together and they come in and make a very perfect trend. So I'll be explaining these, all that in the upcoming videos, and I hope you will be there to watch. And I can guarantee you that after this series of videos, you won't be able to make any loss. Now, one thing that I forgot to talk about was this system works in every crypto. So you can apply it in every coin, the Doge coins. You can apply it in the Chainlinks, Binance, Dogecoin, whatever, Maker, Ontology, Neo, whatever, Ethereum, Ripple, and everything. So you can apply it in all crypto, all the 35 coins. You can also apply it in the commodities, oil, crude oil, silver, crude oil, Barrett. It works in everything. So you can also apply in the ETFs. You can apply it here. The same thing applies in our stocks. The same system works in stocks and very perfect. And here comes the most favorite part. People who use Forex, people who trade in Forex, the Forexers, this is the kind of a perfect system for you. You don't have to struggle. You can just invest in a week. You can even use a weekly basis. We can use a monthly basis, a daily basis, an hourly basis. So it kind of becomes even more perfect in Forex. So I will be, showing it to you and how it works in every aspect: Forex, stocks, crypto, commodities, ETF, and options. Now here comes another biggest grand. Now, did you know that this system also works in binary and digital options? Now, those are the good news. It's actually the good news that you're experiencing today. So if at all you're struggling with your options, binary and digital, no worries, your struggle might be ending today. And once I start this series, I will start tomorrow. So we shall start tomorrow to explain everything about the system and how it works. Then later, after explaining how it works, we shall be switching to using it in every aspect of this options, Forex, stocks, crypto, and commodities. And after having an overview in all of them and taking a course in all of them, we shall be able to set you free and you can trade alone. But most importantly, we shall also open up kind of a playlist on YouTube where we shall be having live trading. So we shall be live streaming. You can tap into our live streams and copy trade. You can just copy trade, or we trade together with we share screens and we see what is happening, what is transpiring, and I hope you even set it up. Okay, so what else? So it now works in all. I will be showing you how. So don't worry. Yeah, maybe all you have to do is subscribe. Just subscribe to the channel if you want, because this thing is a free will thing. If you want to make profit, actually it's not about making profits. This is making 100% guaranteed of your money back. So if you want to do that, if you want to avoid losses, probably you've been struggling with trading on IQ option or any other platform, you remember the market is the same, just subscribe to the channel. I will be sending you updates, and you'll be of course seeing the more videos that are coming. So subscribe, you can like the video if you want, and I will see you in the next tutorial, probably tomorrow morning. Thank you.